If he's confused about you, he's already telling you the truth. People who want you aren't confused. They're consistent. They're clear. They're intentional. And you've been taught to overthink the wrong people for far too long. You are not meant to be the maybe. You are not meant to be the option. You are not meant to be the person someone figures out when they feel like it. You deserve the person who knows what they feel and moves toward you because of it. Here's the part no one tells you. When someone is confused about you, it's rarely confusion. It's certainty they aren't ready to give what you're worthy of. It feels like confusion because they speak in circles, but it's actually clarity, disguised as hesitation. He's not confused. He's convenient. He's not unsure. He's unavailable. He's not slow. He's stalling. And that difference holds the power to change your whole life. Because here's what you forget. Emotionally healthy men do not question the woman who feels right to them. They move. They show up. They make space. They make effort without you having to beg for it, without you proving yourself, without you shrinking, just to make him feel something. Confusion feels like chaos. Clarity feels like peace. You've lived in chaos for so long that it became familiar. But familiar is not the same as aligned, not the same as safe, not the same as love. A man who is your person brings clarity with him. He brings direction with him. He brings certainty with him. You don't need to decode him. You don't need to interpret him. You don't need to sit with your phone trying to figure out what he meant between the lines, because real interest has no hidden message you're meant to unlock. It's obvious. It's consistent. It's felt. Here's the truth. You have convinced yourself that if you love hard enough, he'll become sure. But love doesn't cure confusion. Love doesn't fix avoidance. Love doesn't transform hesitation into devotion. All it does is drain you. Slowly, quietly, completely, until you wake up one day and don't recognize the version of yourself you became trying to be enough for someone who didn't even know what they wanted. You think his confusion means you need to try harder, but his confusion means you need to let go sooner. Here's the psychology. A man who is emotionally ready recognizes connection when he feels it. He doesn't need months of space to figure it out. He doesn't need distance to determine if he cares. He doesn't need to watch you pull away to realize your value. That's immaturity, not compatibility. Emotionally mature men move toward what they value, not away from it. Emotionally avoidant men move just close enough to keep access, but never far enough to commit. And you've been reading inconsistency as potential when it's actually avoidance. In its cleanest form, the man who is your person won't leave you confused. He'll bring calm. He'll bring focus. He'll bring direction. Because clarity is one of the most beautiful love languages there is. Let's talk about you now. Because this isn't just about him. It's about the version of you that settles for almost. For I'm not ready, but don't leave. For I care about you, but not enough to choose you. For I'm thinking about us, but not enough to act on it. You deserve a love that doesn't make you wait for the moment someone decides you're worth choosing. You deserve a love that already knows, already sees you, already values you, already chooses you, without conditions, without confusion, without hesitation. Let me tell you something many never learn. When a man is your person, he will pursue you with a steadiness that feels like exhale. He will not confuse you. He will not breadcrumb you. He will not offer the bare minimum, then ask for patience, as if he's doing you a favor. He will show up. He will stay. He will choose. Not because you're perfect, but because you're aligned, because you match his readiness, because he's emotionally available instead of emotionally chaotic. And I know you've loved men who weren't ready. You've held space for men who were healing. You've carried the weight of their confusion as if it was your job to fix it. But confusion is not your responsibility. Clarity is your standard. Repeat this until it sticks. If he's confused about you, he's not your person. You are not meant to spend your life trying to feel chosen by someone who doesn't even know what they want. Your real person is not confused, not unsure, not inconsistent. He's clear, he's steady, he's present. And when he arrives, you'll finally understand why nothing before him ever worked. Because it wasn't confusion, it was misalignment. And you were never meant to shrink for someone who didn't have the capacity to match you. Your clarity is someone else's comfort. Your intensity is someone else's home. Your consistency is someone else's dream. And your heart, the one you keep offering to the wrong man, is the very thing the right man will never hesitate about. Not for a second. There's something you need to hear, something most people never say out loud. Confusion is a form of communication. Silence is a form of communication. Mixed signals are a form of communication, and you've been translating them as maybe, but they actually mean one thing. No. The problem isn't that he doesn't know. The problem is that you keep hoping he eventually will. That if you stay long enough, give enough, love deeply enough, he'll suddenly wake up and see what's in front of him. But confusion doesn't transform into clarity when someone else does the emotional work. It transforms when they grow, when they heal, when they choose. And you cannot force growth. You cannot accelerate healing. You cannot beg someone into clarity. Let's make something very clear. Men who are ready are decisive. Men who are aligned are intentional. Men who are emotionally mature don't treat a woman with depth as an experiment. They recognize connection the moment it reaches them. But you've been conditioned to take inconsistency personally. You've been conditioned to give the benefit of the doubt to behavior that clearly hurts you. You've convinced yourself that being understanding, patient, soft, loyal, and emotionally generous will eventually melt his uncertainty. But it doesn't. It rewards it. It teaches him that he can hesitate and still keep you. Here's a psychological truth people rarely talk about. When a man is emotionally unsure, he often tests your tolerance. Not intentionally, not maliciously, just unconsciously. He tests how much inconsistency you'll absorb. He tests how much ambiguity you'll accept. He tests how long you'll stay in the gray zone as he figures out his life. And the more you stay, the longer he delays. Because your presence gives him comfort without requiring commitment. Your consistency gives him stability without requiring choice. Your availability gives him emotional fulfillment without requiring effort. You become the emotional home he won't fully move into, but refuses to let go of. And that limbo is where your self-worth slowly erodes, because confusion forces you into a constant state of self-doubt. You start asking yourself questions that have nothing to do with your worth. Why isn't he sure? What am I missing? Am I too much? Is he talking to someone else? What if I lose him? If I pull back? Every time you try to walk away, he says something that keeps you hopeful. Every time you try to detach, he gives you just enough affection to make you stay. Not clarity, just crumbs. Listen closely. A man who wants you doesn't give you crumbs. He gives you consistency. He gives you presence. He gives you direction. You don't have to guess where you stand, Because he shows you clearly, repeatedly, intentionally. Now let's talk about why you keep getting pulled back into the arms of confused men. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're desperate. It's not because you can't find better. It's because you're wired for emotional depth. You feel deeply. You love deeply. You try deeply. And people like you often fall for potential instead of reality. You see who he could be, not who he is right now. But reality is where relationships happen, not in your imagination. Here's something your nervous system hasn't fully admitted. Confusion feels familiar. You grew up calling chaos love. You learned early that you had to earn closeness, earn affection, earn approval. So when a man is unclear, your mind wakes up, your heart leans in, your healing tries harder. But this isn't love, it's survival. And survival is not the foundation for a healthy connection. A man who is your person will feel different, not chaotic, not overwhelming, not unstable. He will feel safe, clear, steady. Your nervous system will breathe around him, not hustle for him, not chase him, not persuade him. Let's shift to something deeper. The psychology of clarity. Clarity is an emotional skill. It comes from self-awareness, from emotional regulation, from maturity, from readiness. A man who is unclear is often a man who hasn't built the internal space to hold a real relationship. It's not about you. It's about his emotional capacity. And emotional capacity cannot be borrowed from someone else, not even from you. When you're with a confused man, you end up being his emotional scaffolding. You carry the weight of his uncertainty. You hold the emotional tension between what he says and what he does. You provide the clarity he cannot give himself. This is why you feel exhausted, because you aren't being loved. You're being used as a stabilizer. But let me tell you something that will liberate you. You do not have to stay where clarity does not live. You do not have to prove your worth to a man who cannot even decide what he wants. You do not have to keep showing up for someone who shows up only when loneliness finally taps him on the shoulder. You do not have to keep trying to be the exception to someone's emotional unreadiness. Let me say this plainly. If he's confused, your only job is to walk away, not out of anger, not out of spite, not out of ego, but out of self-respect, out of emotional intelligence, out of alignment. Because a confused man will drain you. A clear man will build with you. And you are not here to be drained. You are here to be met, to be chosen, to be seen. Not halfway, not almost, not in moments, but fully. Let's talk about the man who is your person, the one who will never leave you wondering. He will not treat you like an emotional placeholder. He will not juggle you with unfinished business. He will not say, I don't know, when his actions already prove that he does. He will show up in ways confusion never could. He will protect your peace, not disturb it. He will nurture your heart, not test its limits. He will give you direction, not detours. He will make you feel loved, not loaned. With him, you won't wonder what he feels. You'll feel it in the way he listens, in the way he communicates, in the way he prioritizes you, in the way he chooses you. Even on the days you don't feel easy to love, that is the level of emotional maturity you deserve. Not confusion, not inconsistency, not hesitation. Consistent, stable devotion. But here's the sacred part. You will only attract that level of clarity when you stop settling for confusion, when you stop entertaining men who treat your heart like a revolving door, when you stop making space for someone who only chooses you on lonely nights, and slow days. When you stop matching energy, that drains you. When you stop believing that you must prove your worth to be loved, your clarity is your filter, your standards are your boundaries, your alignment is your protection, and your intuition, the thing you keep ignoring every time he pulls away, is your map out of emotional uncertainty and into emotional safety. You deserve the man who is certain about you, not because you forced it, not because you convinced him, not because you waited long enough, but because he arrived, emotionally ready. And emotional readiness is the quiet, steady truth. Behind real love, there comes a moment in every woman's story where she realizes something life-changing. She was never asking for too much. She was asking the wrong man. You've lived long enough, carrying the weight of someone else's uncertainty. You've lived long enough, accepting emotional crumbs and calling them connection. You've lived long enough, mistaking effort you provided for effort being given to you. But now you're entering a different chapter, a clearer one, a stronger one, a more self-aware one. And clarity starts the moment you understand this. A man who is confused about you cannot lead you into the future you're built for, because confusion cannot build foundation. It cannot build consistency. It cannot build commitment. It cannot build safety. It cannot build the kind of love that grows with you instead of draining you. Let's go deeper, because your heart deserves truth, not illusions. There are three types of men you will encounter on your way to the one who is your person: the avoidant, the unready, and the aligned. Only one of them is capable of loving you with the clarity you deserve. Let's break them down. 1. The avoidant. This is the man who pulls you close, only to push you away. He creates intensity without intention. He gives connection without commitment. He offers affection without accountability. He keeps you hooked on moments, never momentum. And when you ask where you stand, he suddenly becomes confused. Confusion is his shield. Distance is his safety blanket. Ambiguity is his comfort zone. He wants the feeling of closeness without the responsibility of closeness. With him, you will spend your life trying to stabilize what was never stable to begin with. 2. The unready. He's the man who cares in his own way, but not enough to build anything real. He sees your value. He feels the pull. He recognizes the connection, but he lacks capacity. He lacks direction. He lacks emotional maturity. He's overwhelmed by his own life. And instead of saying, "I'm not ready," he says, "I'm confused," not to harm you, but because he genuinely hasn't built the internal structure to love someone fully. He's not a bad man. He's just not your man. Not now. Not here. Not in this version of his life. 3. The aligned. This is the man who is your person. He doesn't arrive with chaos. He arrives with clarity. He doesn't bring confusion. He brings direction. He doesn't play with your heart. He protects it. His presence feels grounding. His communication feels consistent. His effort feels steady. He is emotionally available, emotionally intelligent, emotionally intentional. He doesn't need time to figure it out. He knows. He feels. He chooses. He shows up. Not someday. Not eventually. Not when he's lonely. But now. With purpose. With awareness. With readiness. This is the man you deserve to align with. But here's the truth. That stings a little. You cannot attract the aligned man while tolerating the avoidant one. You cannot make room for clarity while entertaining confusion. You cannot build a future with someone who won't even decide about the present. Emotional clarity requires emotional boundaries, and your heart is finally ready for that. Let's talk about the emotional cost of staying with someone who is confused, because confusion isn't neutral, it's damaging. Confusion creates anxiety. Anxiety creates overthinking. Overthinking creates self-doubt. Self-doubt creates self-betrayal. And self-betrayal is the slow death of your self-respect. When someone wavers, your nervous system never gets to rest. You live in limbo. You live in fear. You live in almost, and almost slowly kills you from the inside out. Let's go even deeper. When a man is confused, you're forced to reassure him, overcompensate for him, adjust for him, explain yourself to him, prove your intentions to him, soften your needs for him, shrink your expectations for him, all while he contributes very little back. You become the emotional anchor. In a relationship, he refuses to stabilize. But the truth is simple. If he's confused, you're carrying the relationship. For both of you, you're doing the emotional labor. You're doing the connection work. You're doing the effort. He should naturally provide if he were ready. And that imbalance will drain even the strongest woman. Now let's shift from calling out the confusion to calling forward your power. Because clarity isn't just something you wait for, it's something you choose. Clarity comes when you stop making excuses for behavior that clearly hurts you. Clarity comes when you stop over-explaining what your intuition already knows. Clarity comes when you stop trying to convince someone who cannot meet you. Clarity comes when you stop staying because you're afraid of starting over. Clarity comes when you finally say, "My peace is worth more than your uncertainty." And when you do, something beautiful happens. Your energy shifts. Your standards strengthen. Your heart reopens, not to the wrong person, but to the right one. Because walking away from confusion signals to the universe that you're ready for someone who isn't afraid to choose you. Let's explore something profound: the difference between chemistry and compatibility. Chemistry is emotional spark, emotion, attraction, intensity. Compatibility is emotional readiness, alignment, stability, direction. The wrong men create chemistry. Without compatibility, the right man creates compatibility that naturally grows chemistry. And you've been choosing spark over structure, emotion over alignment, connection over clarity. But connection without clarity is chaos, and chaos is not love. Here's something life-changing. A man who is your person will not confuse you. He will calm you, not because everything is perfect, but because his presence reduces uncertainty instead of increasing it. You will not need to guess what he feels. He will tell you. You will not need to chase his attention. He will give it freely. You will not need to fear his distance. He will stay consistently close. This is what alignment feels like. But the reason you haven't met him yet isn't because he doesn't exist. It's because you've been emotionally making space for the man who isn't ready. And an unready man blocks the path to the aligned one. This next part is the hardest truth of all. If you don't let go of confusion, you won't recognize clarity. When it finally arrives, you'll mistake consistency for boredom. You'll mistake stability for lack of passion. You'll mistake healthy communication for unfamiliarity because you've been conditioned to equate chaos with chemistry. But real love isn't chaos. Real love is peace. Deep, grounding, calming peace. Peace that makes you exhale. Peace that makes your nervous system finally settle. Peace that makes you feel safe in your own tenderness. That's what the aligned man brings. Before this section ends, I want you to sit with this truth. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for someone whose emotional maturity matches your emotional depth. You are asking for someone who communicates with intention instead of confusion. You are asking for someone who knows what they want and knows how to show it. You are asking for someone who builds, not someone who wavers. You are asking for someone who is your person, and he is not confused. Not about you, not about love, not about the future you both deserve. There is a turning point in your healing that feels like a quiet earthquake. It doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look loud. It looks like acceptance. It looks like release. It looks like clarity. It looks like you finally saying, I'm done confusing someone's indecision for my worth. You're entering that turning point now. This chapter of your life is not about holding on. It's about letting go. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally realized your heart deserves a home that doesn't hesitate when it sees you. Let's talk about the kind of woman you are. You love deeply. You give fully. You show up with your whole chest. You don't do halfway. You don't do maybe. You don't do someday. Your heart is too honest. Your presence is too pure. Your soul is too intentional, which is exactly why confusion has always been so painful for you. Because confusion is the opposite of how you love. Your heart speaks clearly. His heart does not. And that mismatch has been draining you for far too long. Here's a truth you must claim. You are not meant to negotiate with someone's uncertainty. You are meant to be loved by someone who knows your value, knows your worth, knows your energy, knows your soul, and chooses you, not because he needs you, but because he recognizes you're aligned with his future. This section is about power. Your power. Because clarity isn't something someone gives you. It's something you give yourself. It's the moment you realize that someone else's hesitation does not override your intuition. It's the moment you decide that emotional crumbs will never again be enough. It's the moment you understand that someone who truly wants you will not risk losing you to figure out how they feel. You have spent years believing that if you were more patient, more loving, more understanding, more forgiving, more grounded, more available, he would become sure. But uncertainty is not something you cure with effort. It is something he must cure with self-awareness. And you cannot do his self-awareness for him. Let's talk about why you stayed as long as you did. Not because you were weak, not because you lacked options, not because you didn't know better, but because you loved from a place of hope, from a place of possibility, from a place of belief. You saw what he could be if he healed, if he grew, if he aligned with you. But loving someone's potential is exhausting because potential is only a promise, not a partnership. You cannot build a future with a version of him that only exists in your imagination. Now let's break something that has been breaking you. You thought his confusion was your fault, but confusion is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of his unhealed patterns, his emotional blocks, his fear of intimacy, his avoidance, his lack of readiness, his inconsistent identity, his limited emotional range. None of that belongs to you. You just happen to love someone who wasn't equipped to receive that love. Here's the heartbreak truth you've avoided saying aloud. He wasn't confused about you. He was confused within himself. And he projected that confusion onto the relationship because that's all he knows how to do. Emotionally unstable men do not admit they are emotionally unstable. They call it bad timing. They call it, I don't know yet. They call it, I'm complicated. They call it, I need to work on myself. But what they really mean is, I don't have the emotional maturity to meet you where you are. And here's where your healing begins. You stop taking responsibility for the emotional battles he refuses to fight. You stop carrying the load of someone who will not choose himself and therefore cannot choose you. You stop making yourself small, trying to fit into the life of someone who doesn't even know what shape his life is supposed to take. You stop glorifying his potential and start honoring your peace, because peace is the ultimate form of clarity, and peace is what the right man brings. Let's talk about him. The aligned one, the one your story is leading you toward. He is not intimidated by your depth. He is not overwhelmed by your honesty. He is not frightened by your vulnerability. He is not confused by your intentions. He is not hesitant about your value. With him, you won't feel like an option. You'll feel like a priority. You won't feel like a burden. You'll feel like a blessing. You won't feel like a question mark. You'll feel like an answer. You won't feel like you're chasing. You'll feel like you're met. This isn't fantasy. This is emotional compatibility. But to attract him, you must do something bold. Leave the door closed to any man who only ever opened it halfway. Because halfway love leads to whole heartbreak, and you are done breaking yourself to understand someone who can't even understand his own heart. Now let me give you something empowering, something to anchor you. The next time someone says, I'm confused, or I'm not sure, or I need time, or I'm figuring things out, here it is. Their confusion is the clarity you need. You don't push. You don't beg. You don't negotiate. You don't plead. You don't wait. You simply walk away with dignity, with calm, with self-respect. Because if he were your person, he would never risk losing you to uncertainty. Let's end this with the truth your heart has been waiting to hear. The man who is meant for you will not confuse you. He will not send mixed signals. He will not make you feel like you need to prove your worth. He will not hesitate when it comes to choosing you. He will not fear the depth of your love. He will move with intention. He will move with clarity. He will move with commitment. Because he is ready. Because he is aligned. Because he is emotionally available. Because he is grounded in himself. And because he recognizes the rare beauty of the woman standing in front of him. Not someday, not eventually, not after he explores other options, but now, immediately, effortlessly, with certainty. So let this settle into your spirit. If he's confused about you, he's not your person. Your person knows your value. Your person chooses your heart. Your person heals with you, not away from you. Your person is not afraid of the depth you carry. Your person is not hiding behind confusion. Your person will look at you and know. And when he arrives, you'll finally understand why every man before him hesitated. They weren't confused. They were unaligned. And you were always meant for someone who isn't afraid to choose you boldly, fully, completely, with clarity.